Can you say Happy Thanksgiving Eve? I guess there's not such a thing on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, is there?
Well, I know when I was younger, that was the biggest party night of the year.
It definitely is. Yeah, the bars will be, this is a big bar night in the communities. No one's working on Thanksgiving, so it's kind of like a Friday night, if you will, around town. So be careful out there first and foremost.
It was always coming home for Thanksgiving, so it was meeting up with all your high school buddies.
That's right.
You were away at college or wherever
That's
you
right.
were, so it was, it was a huge night out.
Big reunion night out. Some of my daughter's friends that have gone away to college. She's only a junior, so she's not quite there yet. But there's a bunch of her friends that are in town wanting to get together with other people. So yeah, that's what happens. It's like that first big holiday home from college. And you're right, man. This is so again, kids, adults, parents, whatever. Be careful out there. We have begun to prepare a feast. Is there going to be a Thanksgiving dinner in your future at home, or what do you do?
There always is. So these holidays, all of our family comes to us.
Oh, great!
So my dad will be in town. And,
fantastic.
My cousins who live over in Largo, they'll be in town too. So
is catering? Wife doing the cooking? What do we got?
My wife does the cooking, but I smoke the turkey. So.
You do smoke a turkey? Good for you.
Yeah, every year.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, we wouldn't do it any other way. Although fried turkey is fantastic too, but
I've always wanted to try a deep fried turkey. I have not. Looks fantastic.
Yeah,
but I know not to try it myself. Fires will erupt and I will be burned forever if I did it myself. But that's supposed to be delicious.
Yep. So I'll be smoking the turkey like we do. We've done it for at least a dozen years now. I guess.
Oh wow.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's good to have traditions for the kids and the family and all that stuff. Do you have a designated kids table? Is there such a thing at the Versnick?
No, because there'll be 7 of us, so we'll fit our dining
you'll
table.
all fit.
We can all fit around. So
gotcha. There you go.
If we have enough people, yeah. So when my sister family comes, then it's a little different. But
yeah,
and that's usually over. Usually she's here over New Year's. So
cool.
Yeah,
cool. A lot of times my family or Val will take the girls and go to Chicago to see her dad.
Yeah,
and when her mom was alive, she'd see her. And of course, I work. The Bucs will have practice. They'll do it probably a little bit earlier, I would think, on Thursday, so the guys can get home, eat dinner, and all that stuff.
Yep.
And I would go to my sister's, cook for my mom, and all that. My mom, had a fall not too long ago. We probably won't do a big dinner over there, but myself and my wife, they stayed home from Chicago. They'll go around Christmas time. So we did the the annual run to the Honey Baked Ham store, and probably going to get a turkey and at least a turkey breast, and we wimped out. We'll end up buying most of the sides, but it is my favorite holiday because it combines 2 things I'm very passionate about: football and food,
and napping.
And napping. Yeah, the tryptophan will be kicking in sometime around 4:00, and it's like time out and. Maybe a little pumpkin pie. You pumpkin pie guy? I sound like TJ Reeves. TJ Reeves used to do this show every year.
Yep. Oh yes, he did.
Okay, and he would have a Buccaneer because he did Buccaneer radio, right? And he'd have Gerald McCoy. All right, are you a pumpkin pie mincemeat guy? What do you like? Blueberry? So I'm
not a pumpkin pie fan. I'm not a pumpkin.
Not a pumpkin fan. Okay,
nope,
all right.
I'm not. No.
All right. Right, I'm good for anything pie. Sounds good to me. Pecan pie is good.
If I'm going to do a pie, it's going to be apple pie.
Apple pie is delicious. Yeah, all that's good. Well, don't eat too much, folks. We try to make you hungry at the start of this podcast, but I love Thanksgiving. I think players love it. I think everybody loves it. So they were handing out turkeys, the offensive line, on Tuesday. That's a cool thing they do over there at One Buck Place.
Mm-hmm.
So good for them. And you should have the big guys handing out turkeys. That doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Would you take a turkey from a wide receiver?
That sounds like something John Madden would have said. You got some big guy here.
That's right. You got a guy here. I mean, you got the offensive line and the wide receivers turducken. If if the wide receivers handed out turkeys, I would think they'd be like small turkeys, or fast turkeys or something like that. But yeah, so. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll be saying that many times, I'm sure, before the week is over. Okay, so the Bucs will get ready today. Glorified walkthrough, as they have done, is walkthrough Wednesdays, as we call it over there at One Buck Place. Who knows who exactly will be practicing, including whether that will include Baker Mayfield. And I noticed on the Bucs put out kind of an availability sheet what their media schedule is, if you will. And they're going to be in the walkthrough, begin the walkthrough around 10:50, which will be in the indoor facility. And typically we would get Todd Bowles afterwards. Now we're going to do all the interviews tomorrow to avoid doing any on Thanksgiving Day, which is great. Appreciate that. But it's like drinking from a fire hose tomorrow, or I should say today, as you hear this podcast on Wednesday. So we'll get Todd Bowles, and then normally you would have the Baker Mayfield after that on Wednesdays, and then on Thursdays it's Josh Grizzard, and then open locker room, and then usually a defensive coach, whether that's Larry Foote or someone like that afterwards, and then that's it. So we're gonna do them all tomorrow. I noticed on the schedule that they had Todd Bowles coming up first, and then it said in the spot where typically there would be Baker Mayfield, it said select players. So I guess that's an ode to, we don't really know which quarterback we're going to give you just yet.
Or we're not willing to tell you who it is.
Or
so
that.
We're just
right. So I'm guessing that maybe Teddy Bridgewater will at least pinch hit in the media side of things. I don't really know.
Now, does it have to be a quarterback? If they don't know who's going to start, do they have to put a quarterback out?
Well, they don't. I mean, yes. The answer to the quarterback thing is yes. You have to provide a quarterback. The quarterback coaching quarterback must speak each week per their agreement with the Pro Football Writers. Now, doesn't have to be the starting quarterback if they don't know. So maybe that's why they left it kind of blank. But
could they push that back to Friday instead of tomorrow?
They could with lots of protests from us, but yeah, they absolutely could. There's not a designated day. Some speak Thursday, some speak Wednesday. Typically, your quarterbacks speak on Wednesday, get it out of the way, because Friday they're kind of into their game plans.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm anxious to see who they put up there. I imagine we'll talk to Teddy, but it could be. Look, I think Baker's going to play. That's just my gut, because as soon as I heard the words pain tolerance, I went, well, come on. Who are we talking about here, man? This guy go out there with, one
talking
arm.
About tolerance.
Yeah, what are we talking about, man? We're
not
talking about
the injury, not the.
That's right. Not the limb that's hanging off his body. It's just not his left arm. It's not his right arm. We're talking about his left arm, man. His left shoulder, not his right shoulder. So he will, in my great estimation, is that he will be out there and he will play. They'll have to hold him back, and that's the thing about Baker. With Baker, you say whoa, not sick him. A lot of other guys, you have to say sick him, not with Baker. So, and a lot of that will depend on sort of like not just how he feels, but how he looks. If he even gets to practice at all, he won't do anything tomorrow. And frankly, it's walkthrough Wednesday anyway. But I could see us talking to Bridgewater just about the situation. It's tricky because unless you're sure, and as sure as you can be, the doctors say that it's a AC joint sprain. But I think you have to. It's one of those weeks where it's a little bit tricky. You got to go down two paths. I think you have to prepare a game plan and Teddy Bridgewater to play and maybe start. And then I think, as you get to the end of the week, maybe on Friday, if it looks like it's going to be Baker, you snap back into Baker mode. But they've done game plans for Baker Mayfield, every week this year. Josh Grizzard has, and for 3 years now for the Bucs, and so that should be easier to put together, than it would be to try to adapt it on the fly to what Teddy Bridgewater does. So Bridgewater would probably benefit from the reps, and I would think Mayfield would benefit from the rest. So I expect it to kind of go that way. I don't think this is one where you just, the backup gets no reps, which is typically the case. So we'll see. But I expect Baker to play. One guy that we do think will play, according to Todd Bowles, and he said it on Monday, is Bucky Irving. And that's because, Bucky has practiced now on a limited basis 2 weeks in a row. I think he could have played possibly in Los Angeles, but they felt like, he'd benefit more from one more week off with that shoulder. The foot's been great for a while now. He's been running full speed, for some time. And so if he makes it through the week without any setbacks, pretty much Todd Bowles has said that he expects him to play on Sunday, and that will be a huge lift. Now, again, a little bit like Chris Godwin, who was held to a pitch count. I think he got like 25 snaps. I don't know that really that Bucky will be that limited. He could be, and just depending on how he feels. But I don't think he'll get like the full workload. But even if you gave you know 25 snaps and 15 carries, right, to Bucky Irving, which would be impactful. You still have Sean Tucker, you still have Rashad White, so you just need to get him going and to get a couple of big plays against the Cardinals. And really, I'm of the belief that they should be able to beat a 3-8 Cardinals team without not just Bucky Irving, but without Baker Mayfield. I mean, I really do believe that. It's like there comes a time where it's like, okay, guys, we're on a slump. We've lost, 3 in a row, 4 out of 5, and we're fighting for our very lives. We got a break on Monday night because Carolina got beat by the 49ers, who did not play that great. And so, you know what? It might not be a bad thing, to be honest with you. They're playing their backup quarterback. We should be able to go out there with Teddy Bridgewater and win this game as a team. Put it on the 52 other guys, not just the quarterback this time. And let's pull together as a team, and let's win this thing, playing great defense, great special teams, and understand that we don't have Baker Mayfield, to put a cape on in this game, that we're going to have to play great around our quarterback, or who's capable, but he hasn't started, but he's capable of helping us win this game. But everybody else has to do more. And in a way, it kind of sends a signal, that we haven't been doing much as it is. So now it's really on us. It's not just on the quarterback. I think in some weird way that might benefit them, but I'm also not naive. I think they're going to play Baker, and probably see just how it goes. But they should be able to beat this Cardinals team, um, you know, straight up with all the injuries the Cardinals have, without having to use Baker Mayfield. I mean, I just believe that. So whether that's the plan or not, we'll find out. Probably won't be. They definitely need a win. They got a big break again by the 49ers, and that's kind of where the game is at. We'll talk more about it throughout the week, but these next couple days, I don't know that we'll learn. Their final decision may not be announced. I mean, it could be as early as Friday. I mean, Todd Bowles could say, "Yeah, we're going to go with Baker. He looked good in practice." My guess is they'll probably say, "We'll see how he feels," on Sunday morning. We prepared both quarterbacks, and we'll see who's the best one ready to go. So I don't know. It's kind of the way I would play it. I mentioned Bucky Irving. Let's come back and talk about him in just a second. But first, I want you guys to get on down to Breitling Boutique. It's Christmas time. As you know, the malls are starting to fill up a little bit. People are getting a little nervous about what they're going to give their loved ones. I've got the shopping plan for you. Go to Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Second floor, right above Santa Claus there. Not far from that is the Breitling Boutique. They've been there for more than 5 years at International Plaza. The Breitling Company has been making the best Swiss watches now for over 140 years. And I was just by there the other day, a couple days ago, and I looked in the mirror, and there was a display for the NFL team watches. These are beautiful chronomat watches for the men. They had a team watch for the Jacksonville Jaguars and one for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's only while supplies last. You have to see how gorgeous this watch is. It is a collector's item. There are only a few in the world. Get on down to Breitling Boutique. It's going to have the team colors in the face of the watch, the logo inside. Spectacular looking watches. They also have watches for women as well. Your wife, your girlfriend. These are sports watches. They're extremely durable, beautiful, and she gets to choose from just an array of different colored wristbands. I'm telling you, the Breitling folks are who you want to deal with this time of year when you're really looking for that last minute Christmas gift, something that will blow your loved one away. Go to Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall, and when you do, please let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, I mentioned Bucky Irving. Spend just a minute here talking about his situation, and we have not had a chance to talk to him really since his injury. Almost as soon as he was hurt, he had sort of a cryptic post on his Instagram, talking, among other things, is very faith-based, but talking, among other things, about how, well, now we're going to find out who loves Bucky Irving, the man, and who loves him as just the football player. And, it didn't really, I wouldn't say red flags, but it was sort of like this, what do you mean by that, kind of thing. Somebody's maybe feeling a little isolated, underappreciated, whatever. But clearly, being injured the way he was, having to miss games. At that time, they told us that they didn't expect it to be more than 4 games. And the evidence of that was they did not put him on injured reserve. Now, he got hurt September 28th against the Eagles. That was a long, long time ago, right? I think school had just started a couple weeks into that. So to give you an idea, but so Bucky was going to miss some time. He obviously had some thoughts about it, and then time went on, and really didn't see him out there. He would do a lot of his work, we're told, in the morning. But almost from the beginning, I was getting pinged by people. I get a lot of emails and text messages. Even my son was hearing stuff in Denver from his friends back here that something must be going on. There's some more to this Bucky Irving story. There's more to it. What's up with Bucky Irving, right? I think some of it was just the antennas went up because of his Instagram post and some other stuff. And then about a week ago, I think it was last week sometime, two things happened. I think Rondy Barber said something on his podcast that he didn't expect to see Bucky anytime soon. He didn't elaborate on that, but he just kind of tossed that out there, almost matter of factly. And then Mike Florio, who I've since talked to, I guess the point he was making, he had heard some things about Bucky, and he too said that I don't think he's going to be playing. Anytime soon. But he also said, boy, there's a lot of information out there that comes to you sort of unsolicited, and he was surprised by it. And he kind of told Chris Sims, who was his co-host, he goes, I'll tell you more when we get off the air about it, but I can tell you, I don't think we're going to see Bucky very soon. And so those kind of matched up, but they also were cryptic in nature and not really explainable. But it furthered a little bit more of the rumor mill, cranked it up a little bit hotter. And, I'm not going to get into what people were suggesting was going on. I did attempt to talk to as many folks as I could, especially with the Buccaneers, people that I genuinely trust not to steer me down the wrong path. Some have. I'm not going to lie. Some have not given me all the information or misinformation. But what came back to me was like, look, there's nothing nefarious here. There's no there with Bucky Irving, but simply he really struggled being hurt. It hurt him to be hurt is how it was described to me. And that, if you, of course, we know his life story is such that kind of grew up, suburb of Chicago, not a great part of town kind of thing. His grandmother who raised him died at an early age for him when I think he was either in high school or beginning college. His brother got murdered. Father passed away. So the three main figures in his life were gone by the time I think he started college at the University of Minnesota, and then later, he transferred to Oregon. But so the support system is a little different than mine, okay, and maybe yours too at home. So now Bucky had also been somebody, especially in recent years, that would get to one Buck place a little before 6:00 in the morning, around 5:30, and his first stop became kind of a routine where he would go by and hang out with Tom Moore, right? The 87-year-old Buck senior consultant that has been everywhere, done everything, coached everybody. And they didn't really talk football as much as just life. You know what I mean? Like this was, kind of a grandfatherly figure to him, to a lot of players and to some coaches, as a matter of fact. And why not? What a great resource to have there with Tom. And like I said, it wasn't about X's and O's as much as just, just having somebody to be an anchor for him. Well, and Tony Dungy revealed this the other night, so I'm not talking out of school on Sunday Night Football, that, Tom has been called away from the team for going on now 4 weeks, I think, because his wife, Willie, had a medical episode, and so he's had to attend to her. So if you take all of this together, right, not a established support network in his family, his confidant at One Buck Place being away, and the fact that they tell me, and it's hard to believe as a football player, especially his size, that he's never been injured before. like that this is the most extensive injury situation he's had in his career since he started playing football. You can see where guys would be emotionally sort of distraught by that, and not really maybe sure about their future, when they're going to get back on the field, what kind of player they're going to be when they come back. I mean, I remember, when Tristan Wirfs a couple of years ago was asked to switch from right tackle to left tackle. He got so wound up and sort of into his anxiety of it all. He really, questioned whether he could be the same all-pro player at left tackle that he had been at right tackle, and it's essentially like writing with a different hand. That he freely admitted, I had to go, see our sports psychologist, help me through some of those anxiety issues, those, self-doubt and all that. I can well imagine that, the things Bucky has been experiencing has been hard for him. At least that's what we're told. We're told that, again, he was hurt being hurt. Don't know any more than that. If there is more, what happens in the dark usually comes to the light. But this has been an emotional time for an emotional player. And it doesn't surprise me, Steve. I think there's probably more of this that goes on than we ever even sense. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the human side of this, right? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
we tend to forget that with fantasy football and gambling, or any sport. It doesn't have to just be football, but there's a human side to it, whether it's, a sick kid at home, or a baby on the way, or,
Sure.
whatever it is, a sick parent, or,
Mm-hmm.
your own, dealing with issues, injured and away from the team, and this, like, all that's hard. Like, and it's, as much as we just want to say, well, you're a football player, go play. Like, they have lives too, just like you do, just like I do, just like everybody else.
That's right.
And how you balance that and work through that, and it's difficult, and some players are able to do it easier than others, and that's human nature.
And the other part you forget, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe Bucky Irving is 23 years old. Like,
Mm-hmm.
He's a young man, right? He's younger than my son. Um, and I still consider my son to be a young man. But,
Yep.
it's
Bucky is 23. Turned
yeah.
that in August.
And I mean, that's incredible, right? Like, that's not far out of high school, right? Like, you're dealing with grown man in a grown man game with grown man problems. And you're still a very young, very, very young man, only 23 years old. So you put all that together and you say, okay, well, this shouldn't be surprising, but we do. We tend to, they put the helmets on, no one can see their face. You look at the number on the back, you look at the name on the front and the back, and it's like, there's sort of nameless, faceless combatants out there that you're rooting for, your team, and you do forget that they have lives, and I've just experiencing some of the injuries in my family, and seeing what people have had to go through. It is very depressing when sometimes you find yourself in situations having to rely on people for things you would never ask them to do. And so it is a humbling experience, and rehab is a humbling experience, and you get taken away from your teammates. You're not part of the team. I mean, you literally, there is nothing that you do during your day. You're not going to meetings. You're just merely spending time with trainers and rehabbing, trying to get back on the field. But you don't have the esprit de corps, the camaraderie. They see you in the building, but you're just, it's like you're on the outside looking in. I mean, they've literally sat you aside on the playground and said you can't play with the kids, and that's a difficult place to be. And then you worry about your future, right? You're a guy that came into this league, wasn't a high draft pick, absolutely burst onto the scene, 1,122 yards, 8 touchdowns. Didn't even start to the last 2 regular season games, really, except the one game that Rashad White was out in New Orleans. And so, you come back your second year and you're like, let's go. I'm ready to, run for 2,000 yards, and worked hard in the off season and training camp, preseason, and boom, you have this happen to you, and the doubt of what kind of player am I going to be when I come back, and you don't have that support network. So that's what we've been told. If there's more, like I said, we'll find out. But I'm told, and I've kind of seen that he's in a really good place these last couple weeks. Difficult still not for him to play, and I'm sure they've had to sit on him a little bit, this past week and say, hey, let's wait until after the Rams game. Maybe your shoulder will be 10% better. And there is some concern about the shoulder because he popped it out. It could pop out again. That's probably also weighing on him as well, as he's got to take that first hit, and they're not going to hit him in practice. So all those things have kind of conspired to, to make it a tough rehab. But I think because of that, he's just so appreciative to be back. And I expect on Sunday, if they announce the offense, the loudest ovation you're going to hear, if not for Mayfield, will probably be for Bucky Irving, because and maybe Chris Godwin too coming back, but certainly with what's going on with Bucky and what he brings to the team. Look, it's not an insignificant thing to have number 7 back in your lineup when you can hand the ball to him, throw the ball to him. He's a game breaker. He's got explosiveness in the run game. They've run the ball pretty well the last 2 weeks. No matter what's happened on defense, they've run the ball well, and I would think they would again. But this will be. I expect that one way or another, we'll be writing and talking about Bucky Irving after Sunday. I really think that's the case.
All right, Rick, we got a mailbag question here we'll answer. We'll take more mailbag tomorrow and Friday, so if you want to get them in, at SportsDayTV on Twitter, at NFL Stroud, or you can email Rick at rstroud@tampabay.com. Michael had tweeted, Liam Cohen has won 7 games with Trevor Lawrence. Dave Canales has 6 wins with Bryce Young, and Todd Bowles has just 6 wins with Baker Mayfield. Did the Bucs make a mistake by keeping Bowles while letting Cohen and Canales walk out of the building?
I don't think we'll know yet. Those are all, good statistics, and I think it's a fair question, because I think that, they signed Todd Bowles to an extension last year, and that's not to say you're guaranteed anything except the money they owe you. But I think the calculus was just that. At some point after the job Liam Cohen did, they had to be well aware that he was going to be coveted as a head coach. And in fact, they were so aware of that that they quickly reworked his contract as an offensive coordinator to make him the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. He agreed to that package, and before coming in and signing it, he sort of disappeared for 24 hours. We remember that story. He pops up in Jacksonville. Next thing you know, he's going to be the Jaguars head coach. But the Bucs were all too aware of what they had, in Liam Cohen. Look, he did a fantastic job. And I don't think anybody that knows Liam would be necessarily surprised that, he's done a good job with Trevor Lawrence. And only his first year, Dave Canales is one sort of surprises me, and just maybe in the tactical sense. Like, I didn't know exactly how he would, be able to develop the quarterback there, but I think after sort of a tough first year, they've smoothed some things out, and that team's really competitive too, and they're going to be right neck and neck, I think, through the end of this season with the Buccaneers. Because they've sort of turned the corner a little bit, and Dave does it a different way. He's less X's and O savvy than he is just the optimist bully that Baker Mayfield needed, and I'm sure that the Panthers needed. Also has a good relationship up there with Dan Morgan, their GM. They were together in Seattle, so there's a lot of and that's what it takes, right? There's just a lot of support, commonality. A plan that they all believe in, that they're executing. So, not a surprise. Look, time will tell. I mean, I'll just say this. Todd Bowles hired both those guys, okay, along with Jason Light, after many, many interviews. And I don't think that when Todd got this job, and, that people were flying down here to sign up to be the offensive coordinator. I mean, everybody wants that opportunity, but like Canales had been in Seattle for years and years and years, and was never afforded the chance to become offensive coordinator. And they hired, I think Pete Carroll hired 4 guys to take that job while he was there as passing game coordinator and different other things. Cohen had been with, Sean McVay back to Kentucky a couple times at the University of Kentucky. So these were guys that excelled when they got those opportunities, but neither had ever been a head coach. In the case of Canales, he had never even been a play caller. And so you'd have been taking a little bit of a leap with either, but you're not going to fire or replace a guy that has just won, at that point, 3 division championships, and Todd also, when he took over in March of that year after Bruce Arians resigned, he couldn't hire any coaches. He had to inherit the entire staff. The next year, Byron Leftwich was fired. They won 8 games and won the division, then 9 games, then 10 games. And each time, him and Jason Light have hired just a knockout offensive coordinator. We'll see what Josh Grizzard's future is. I think he's as bright as those other 2 guys. I think you'll see him as a head coach one day as well. Not the same deck, though. He was dealt a much difficult deck because of the number of injuries. I mean, neither one of those guys had that much change in the offensive line, or neither one of them had to play extensive time without Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. It's a totally different situation altogether. But there will come a time where people will judge that and say, wow, you guys had, Liam Cohen in the building, or you had Dave Canales in the building, and you let him go. But you have to put it in its right perspective and say, well, what were you going to do? Were you going to fire a head coach that hired these guys after his 3rd straight playoff appearance, or championship, conference championship or division championship? Like, that would not have been a great move or well received by anybody, especially the players. So I think the Bucs did what they should have done, had to do, and you know what? Sometimes guys get out of the building. I mean, it happens. Best example probably of that in football was when Paul Brown didn't offer Bill Walsh the head coaching job, and he had him, and everybody thought that it would be Walsh's, and Brown. There was something about Walsh that Brown didn't really think would necessarily work as a head coach. His demeanor, he was a very sensitive guy, but for whatever reason, Walsh became just a fine Hall of Fame coach and won a bunch of Super Bowls with the 49ers. So it does happen. But I think it's too early to make that call. Those guys are not even through their first season. I mean, Canales he's in his 2nd year, but they haven't won anything. And at the end of the day, I think Todd Bowles is going to wind up in the postseason, and I don't know that either one of those guys are going to get their teams there. So what are we calling success these days? I think both will be successful and have been at an early stage. But we don't have the whole story yet. But it's a fair question, and only the bailout here is only time will tell, right? Like I think that Cohen's done a good job with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know that he's gotten him to where he needs to be yet, and I don't know if Chase Young is the guy in Carolina or not, like and so much of being successful in this league is, can you draft, develop, and or find the right quarterback? And that's why those guys are there, to help those players along. So let's see what they do in more than a season or 2. But I get the point. And it may come down to, you know what? Maybe they kept the wrong guy. Like that's very possible. It happens in this league every now and then. There's really nothing you can do. But at the time, they weren't going to fire Todd Bowles and make Liam Cohen head coach. It just was never going to happen. All right, thanks for your mailbag questions. You can get more in, as Steve said, at NFL Stroud, at Sports Day TV, or my email address is rstroud@tampabay.com. We'll be at One Buck Place this morning. Check it out on tampabay.com for the latest in the injuries. Walk through Wednesday. We'll find out what's going on with Baker Mayfield, who they actually put at the podium as a quarterback, and so much more. The Lightning are back in action tonight, right?
Calgary Flames. Lightning, of course, won 4 in a row. 12 of their last 15. Went from last place in the Eastern Conference to first place in the Atlantic Division. So
incredible. Hot team.
It looks like Pontus Holberg may make his return to the lineup. He was the center of the post-practice circle, which generally means good things. So he was there today, on Tuesday. So maybe he'll be back today. There's an optional morning skate and then the game tonight. So
a whole bunch of players out, and they're still doing this great, terrific run that they're on. With a lot of guys from the Syracuse Crunch, especially missing your top defensive players too. So
4 of them.
Yeah, incredible. Been an incredible run. Shows a lot of depth as an organization, and starting to play the right way. When you get that 2-0 lead, just choking teams out in the third period. It was fun to watch the other night. So, yeah, Calgary in town. Look forward to hearing from that. Hey, get on down to Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. See our friends. It's Christmas time. They can hook you up. Tremendous watches, Swiss watches that you will ever want to own. Men's watches and women's and the NFL collection. 32 different teams. In the window, Buccaneers team watch, Jaguars team watch. These things are great. Check it out. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Let them know that you heard about it here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.